Remembering Rwanda, conversations about our shared history. Welcome to the podcast where we learn about the genocide in Rwanda against the Tutsi in 1994 and how literature and art create, shape, and restore our collective memory.
Welcome to Remembering Rwanda. You're listening to Anna, and today I'll be joined by Laura, Ines, and Dora. We have the honor of speaking with Kaneza Theogene, a pastor, peacemaker, and educator currently living in Rwanda. Kaneza is a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. He also spent time in Austria, studying peace studies at the University of Innsbruck. Kaneza is joining us through Zoom today to share his personal experiences relating to trauma, reconciliation, forgiveness, and peace. I hope you will enjoy being part of this conversation with us. First, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I was wondering if you could start by just introducing yourself to our audience.
My name is Kaneza Theogene. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I am a pastor in Presbyterian Church of Rwanda, and I'm a peacemaker in my area. I can say my story in 3 parts. One part in my childhood, including education. The second part in genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. And third, the part after genocide against the Tutsi. Then my personal story in my childhood, I was living in the poor family and I can say persecution period, because I met with different problems according to the country history, especially in education, and other thing about the problem of insecurity and the problem of government, which the government has had the propaganda to kill the Tutsis, because I was including with the Tutsi ethnic. And then in my childhood, for me, it was very, very, very shock my life when I remember some element in it. Then I want to jump to the second personal story about the genocide against the Tutsi. During this time, the genocide, 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, in our country, I was 16 years old, and I was in secondary level 2. In that period, I lost all my family members, my father, my mother, and my siblings. All of them were killed. Not only my family, and also the grandparents, all of them were killed. Only my grandmother in the family of my mother. But the others were in the suffering of my parents from my father, all of them were killed. Now I'm alone in my whole family members. And then after genocide, I continued my studies, secondary school. Then after finished my study, I was a teacher in 10 years. Then after 10 years, I went to continue my study in theology, where I got bachelor level in theology. Now I'm a pastor. But after 2018, I also continued my study in the University of Innsbruck in master level. But now I just already finished the course, but I'm in the period of writing my thesis. That is shortly my personal story.
I would be interested to ask you, if that's fine with you, if you could tell us a little bit more about the years leading up to the genocide against the Tutsis and how it felt like living in Rwanda at that time.
Yeah, sometimes when I can talk about the genocide against the Tutsi in our country, genocide somehow it's not easy to explain and to talk to define and to understand it because of the many atrocities in genocide. Normally, I was confusing many things in my mind because I didn't understand very well how can a person can kill others, his friend, or have friend or neighbor. It's not good, not very well understand what happened. An example, my father was killed by our neighbor, our friends, family members, Christians who were joined together in one church, in the church. It's not understandable to define and to explain what happened in a genocide. But for me, when I heard the crying voices that the Interahamwe, when we received the message and the crying, the hot voices of the Interahamwe started killing the Tutsis, I ran away of my family members. Then I went with the big group to go outside of our area. Then I went at Kabgai. Kabgai is a place of Catholic church, a big temple and many buildings around that church. Then I lived there with many problems. When I was there at Kabgai, it's very far. It's around 100 kilometers. When I was there, I cannot say, yes, I lived because of this. I lived in nothing. In nothing. Can you imagine? Yes, I got out of the schools to search something to eat in Bruce. And sometimes in the market of Gitarama. Gitarama is a market near of Kabgai, because in that area there are the people of that area didn't know who I am. Then I secreted in the market and asked something to eat. When they asked me some questions, who are you, where come from? I said now, I lied, I lied them, because if I say truly who I am, they may kill me. Then I lied them. Then I lived there, and then finally the army of FPR. FPR is Front, is the name of in French. Front Patriotique Rwandais is the one party come from outside of the country to rescue and to stop the genocide in our country. Then the army of that party came to Kabgai in June. Then they rescued me out of the Kabgai, and then I got life. That's what can I say about the genocide on me.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story with us. I want to ask you how you handle living with the trauma resulting from that experience.
Yeah, thank you for this this question. Before to talk about trauma, for me, there is a shocking thing in my life. After genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, I became someone I never was because of the atrocities of genocide. I think you don't understand this, what I said. I become someone I never was. And why this? After genocide, I lost many images in my mind. Even now, I don't remember the face of my mother, my siblings, only my father, because I have the small passport on of my father. Then also, for me, it's like I become another person after genocide. And there's so many things. I lost them. I lost it in my mind. Means after genocide, now I can collect new memories in my mind, because I lost the first memory, what I had before the genocide. When I'm dealing with trauma, for me, trauma is a trauma. And sometimes trauma is like when the flash for what happened in genocide came to me. When it came to me, sometimes I take a moment to relax and to hear the music, or to see some movies like dance and yes, other things. And sometimes I to dialogue for me with others can create in me the good moment to relax and to think who I am. Specifically, trauma for me is bad illness, is inevitable moment for, especially for the survivors. Yes, but we can live with trauma, because sometimes when we remember what happened and see some pictures, what we saw in the genocide, sometimes the guilt can come and the anger can come in us, but not long time, but in short time. Yeah, and also sometimes when we are talking about what happened in genocide in our family, yeah, there is no problem. We talk about it, and because sometimes I have the time to discussing or talking with my children. Yes, and of course, and so the friends. Yeah, but nowadays there is no specifically the trauma in a long time, but when I was in Innsbruck at school, the flash of genocide came to me. We were in a bad situation, like the exercise of kidnapping. yes, kidnapping or like a war, like when I saw the bloods of something, sometimes the flash for what happened, genocide came to me. Yeah, I learned many things in Innsbruck, which many of them inspired me to stay who I am and to accept who I am and to change some things in me. Specifically, when I received about the translational or the interpretations of peace.
Could you tell us a bit more about what you were studying in Innsbruck and how that master's program relates to your personal experience?
I learned many things about that. Then through those elements, I got many new things in me, and yes, the experiences to enrich my career and who I am. As Bruno said, to know something is to participate. That's for me create the new element to participate, then to enter into the circle of creating, and then through that, yes, it looks like movement. If you move this area to another area, then you get some experience. Where I received the real message that movement gives us the experience of life. Then I learned about the embodiment, means the mind and the body. How can use my mind? How can use my body to create peace and to be a holistic facilitator as a way of being, presence, empathy, acceptance, and congruence. And also, I learned the important thing about listening. Listening, to me, listening is to perceive total meaning. Even today, I take serious this lesson about listening, because listening is the central point of getting of total meaning for everything. And yes, as a peace for peace educator is, as I told you before, that in my career I'm an educator. There is not the big difference between being pastor and being educator. It's the same, because being a pastor, you can preach and you can also teach. There is no difference between educator and pastor. It's like the same. The difference is that pastor, also being a pastor, there is an addition of spiritual side. That is what I learned in summary, in short, really, at Innsbruck.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And because you already touched upon remembering earlier, what does remembrance mean to you, and how do you incorporate your own personal remembering or not remembering in your work and in your life?
Yeah. For me, remembering is a teacher to correct your past into the future, then to prepare yourself for the next. Means if the past moment was bad, now if you remember in the present, then if you are present, you may also prepare good or good things to prepare your future, or not for only for you, but for the new generation. Then I connect memory and remembrance in my life, because sometimes my memory can help me and helps me to remember, helps me to remember. But I can also, not only the memory help me to remember, when in remembrance, I use different domains and different things. The first thing is memory. The other thing is the experience. Other thing is the skills received after that memory. For me, the memory is important to remembrance, but you cannot use the memory only for remembrance. But you can also add the skills get after or nowadays, or the present, after the receiving message of the memory. And you can also use the experiences. You can use also the others' contribution to you. Yes, and also the environment. That is what I can say about the memory and the remembrance.
Thank you for answering to that question. And as you've already touched upon the work you're doing as a pastor, could you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing exactly?
Yeah, of course, as a pastor, in one sentence, I can say I am a mediator of people themselves and to others, or to environment. That is a short answer for this question.
Kaneza Theogene, our guest on today's episode of Remembering Rwanda, has firsthand experience in matters of reconciliation and forgiveness, as a pastor, peacemaker, and survivor. But I want to take a moment to highlight how reconciliation was treated widely across Rwanda after the genocide against the Tutsis in 1994. Mediation and reconciliation was central to rebuilding Rwanda after the genocide. But of course, it's complicated. How do you heal from such a massive event? How do you promote justice? Following the genocide, Rwanda set up courts called Gacaca. Loosely translated, this means justice on the grass. The Gacaca courts, which closed in 2012, were local courts for participatory justice, set up to try low-level perpetrators. In over 9,000 communities in Rwanda, these Gacaca courts were set up in the same towns where the genocidal crimes were committed. The Gacaca court judges were elected by the community. Every week, the local community was asked to attend the Gacaca in order to pursue justice. Part of the reason these spaces were set up was simply practical. After the genocide, there were so many people to be tried that the Rwandan justice system could not handle all of the cases in a timely manner. But the Gacaca is also a different approach to Western-style justice systems, which are procedural and distanced from the actual communities where the crime took place. The goal of Gacaca was to increase social trust and peace, and emphasize confession, apology, and forgiveness. While many Rwandans have a favorable outlook on the Gacaca courts, there's still concerns over whether it was truly effective in bringing peace and reconciling Rwandan society. What's certain is that having such spaces, all across the country, where everyone in the community could come together to collectively pursue justice, was entirely unprecedented. So we conducted another interview with an actress, poetry slammer, and author, Malaika Umahoro, and we talked a lot about the correct terminology for the events that happened in Rwanda. She in particular mentioned that it's important to use the specific terminology, the 1994 genocide in Rwanda against the Tutsi, because the genocide took place against this specific group, and to not mention that would be revisionist. Do you have a particular approach to this terminology?
Yeah, I think, but I can also say about this terminology, and then I can come to the remembrance vis-a-vis the forgiveness, I think. Yeah. For me, for this terminology, even in our country, I chose to use the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, because this sentence has all information about this genocide, because there are many genocide in the world, and then the genocide against the Tutsi is specific for the Tutsi, because that the last step of the planner of the perpetrators is denial. If this name of what happened in our country is not specific, sometimes also it can causes the understanding very well. That is the reason why I can choose to use the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, then specific in Rwanda. And then using Hutu and the Tutsi are not real or the original Rwandan ethnics. But using Hutu and the Tutsi were the colonizer system to govern the Rwanda. An example, I know many families who can, in a genocide, the others, the killers or the perpetrators can kill the sisters, but the brothers not. Why? Because the brothers has the identity card of Hutu, and the sisters had the Tutsis identity card. Can you imagine that? Means the Tutsis, or being a Tutsi or being a Hutu is not real ethnic, but were like categorized, separate, like separation of the persons in this group, and you can go in this group, you can go in this group. That it's not the ethnic group at all. It was like the system elaborated to divide the Rwandans, not at all the ethnics. Even in our area, my clan was Ababanda. My clan was Ababanda, and then there was also the other people or other neighbor who were Ababanda, but in the genocide, they were located in Hutu. Then they killed the Tutsis, the friends of Ababanda. Means for me and for me, Hutu and Tutsi are not good for me now. Yes, I come back to talk about remembrance and forgiveness. When I talk about remembrance and forgiveness, those two words is very complicated to talk about those two words. I can use an example, because remembrance for the survivors can create somehow trauma and anger. But for the perpetrators or the killers or those who were located in Hutu, let me use ethnic, remembrance for them is like a guilt. That is, I can say in shortly about the remembrance. Then for the survivors, remembrance is like can provoke or create trauma and anger. Then an example of my family, the uncle of my mother is I don't know if is my uncle. My uncle and his family, the uncle of my mother and his family were the ones who killed my mom, my mother, and 4 siblings. To remember this, without forgiveness, sometimes destroy my inner peace and the relationship with them, with the rest of that family, that family. But I think it's in 2007, because yes, the uncle of my mother was died, but not in genocide. After genocide, but her family, all members of his family are now alive. In 2007, I forgive them because 3 sons of the uncle of my mother came to me to ask me to forgiveness. Then they told me what happened. Then I forgive them. Yeah, and one of them, I supported him to build his own house, and I supported him also. I helped him in his marriage, and yes, and many things. And one also, I gave him a cow nowadays, but a cow in our country is a sign of relationship and your first friend to you. I give him the cow. But contrary, my grandmother, means the mommy of my mother, my grandmother, didn't forgive them still now. It comes from that in genocide. I think you understand that also. My grandfather was a Tutsi, but her wife was a Hutu. And then in genocide, my grandfather was killed, and all children or siblings, but her wife went to her family. Then when the family of my mommy uncle killed my mommy and my 4 siblings, so my grandmother was there and see all stories or video or things. Means to her, even today, when we talk about what happened to her, is like today. And she said, I will not forgive them until I will die. But nowadays, we still dialogue and converse her and comfort her. Even today, she didn't forgive them. She didn't able to forgive. And to forgive is not easy thing. It's not easy element. It's not like to say good morning. It's easy things to practice. But remembrance is easy things to do.
Thank you so much for sharing and for sharing such personal stories. It really means a lot. One thing I would be curious about, as you've been in Rwanda the whole time, how did you perceive the general process of reconciliation and rehabilitation in the country, like the official process?
When we talk about now today, many things changed completely. Some of them are changed completely. I can say, I can give you some with the examples. The first thing is in education. Education in our country, there is a big difference of education system. The education for today, nowadays, it become heritage. Means if you have a kids, the first element to give to them is education. But before genocide, education is not for the poor family, for everything. No, it's education was nothing. The education was nothing. But today, education is real life today. And the second thing is peace, understanding of peace. When I just read the quotation of, I think is the person from Kenya who said, I am because you are. It's a real thing, it's a real important to underline when we talk about peace. In our country, because of the good leaders we have nowadays, specifically our president, the politics of our president and or the country, in every village, we have the ownership system to create and to build the peace in our community or in our village. That create the peaceful in all the country. And the other thing, there are many innovation places which can also intercall the foreigners to visit our country. Means our country now became the touristic country. We have many things to visit, many things for lesson for others. We have many schools, not school as buildings or as infrastructures of buildings, but many schools. An example, when you come to visit the memorial site, is a school, is a school for others, not for others only, but for the Rwandans. And also, how can we prepare the new generation for us? The reason why for me, I took my vision. Then my vision is educated peace generation. Reason why I'm focusing on the children and the family to transform into peace.
Do you think that Rwanda and 1994 genocide is the only lesson Rwanda sends to the world? And you talked about education. What about tourism? Can tourism help Rwanda spread that message? Or is tourism in Rwanda would be harmful to the story or more helpful? What is your view on that?
Yeah. I can talk about the tourism. Tourism is a key element, not only for the foreigners, but only for the Rwandans. Every year during the commemoration, we planned the teaching of our people. Let me talk about for my job. Every year, I planned a group of a person to go to the memorial site or to go to visit the park. In our country, we have many parks, I think around 6, and we have also museums. We have also it is not a holy place, but it is the places of Rwandan history. Then when we go there to visit those places. Sometimes is to correct the false history received or learned in schools. Yeah, because before 1994, we learned the false information about the country, about what happened. I don't know why. Maybe the reason or the propaganda of the readers. That is the reason somehow is very important and also changed. It helps to change the mindset of the Rwandans, or not also the Rwandans, but also for the foreigners who need to know exactly what happened in the Rwanda. What is the real information for what happened in the Rwanda? That is the reason why I said also the tourism is like school, not only for us Rwandans, but for also the foreigners to understand more the Rwandan history, the real history, and also for the writers to write the real information, the real history.
Because you talked a lot about your work and you being a pastor, is the role of especially the Catholic Church and interpretations of the Bible during the years before the genocide in 1994, is that something that comes up with you or for you at your work? And is that something you deal with or discuss, the damage that has been done through faith, through the church? Is that something that affects your work in any way?
It's a very hard to answer your question, but it's a good question. It's a good question. When I was in genocide, I was in a Catholic church area, but what I saw there changed my mind. I can say when I was in the place of Kabwai area, it's the holy place. Let me use the holy place of Kabwai. One of the priests of the Catholic Church there at Kabwai came to our camp with a gun, and he was one of the killers who kills us in the camp with the gun. Then when I saw that holy man that you started, the holy man with a white white robe and the long cross with the gun and kills us and shoot. His image, I will not remember his image in me, because when I saw that image in me with the robe, the white robe and the long cross and the guns shooting some pupils in the camp, for me, even if it's a bad picture in me, but that picture helped me in my calling, being a pastor, because when I saw that man during that time, I decided into my mind, I promised to my God, oh my God, if you will rescue me here at Kabwai, I will be a good priest. I will be a good pastor. That is the source of my calling. Not only that thing, but yes, before that, my family was we were Christian before genocide, and also that image of the priests shooting the Tutsis, if I can say, can create in me and who gave me power to be a different man than him. That is the reason why. Yes, and also after genocide, after to finish my secondary courses, I received 4 chances of opportunities to go in different universities, but I said no. If there is in those universities, if there are no faculty of theology, I will not go there, because of what I promised there at Kabwai in my side. And then, yes, finally, I think is in 2010, then I received also now the message from the university, which has the theology faculty. Then I go there. But nowadays, I'm a friend of Catholic Church. I'm a friend of them. Even here in my area, the priest of Catholic Church here is my best friend of among pastors in my area. And yes, in our group, I visit him many times. Yeah. Nowadays also I have many friends in the Catholic Church. Yeah, no problem, because that's because I forgive them. I forgive also mine. I forgive also myself. Yeah, because sometimes you can promise, I can say something with anger, with trauma, with any things, but slowly, when you get some skills, some things, some additions, also the time is what I say to my colleagues, that the time is a teacher. Yeah, time is a teacher. If you live a long time or so, you will get some skills and some experience, which sometimes came to you as like or to ask to forgive.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. The Christian, after genocide, I left the Christian member. I think you understand that the reason why. Because I left being Christian because I saw many faces of, and I heard the many Christian members who killed the Tutsis, the neighbors, the friends, yeah. It was a very, 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 very complicated moment, but slowly, as I said, the time is a teacher. Slowly, I got some experience and yes, and also forgiveness about remembrance, and then there was the decreasing of the anger, and then also slowly then I came back into Christianity in 1998. I came back into my church, and then I continue to pray and to, yes. I can say also that many strength for which helped me in forgiveness and remembrance. It came from the church. It's where I met with the new friends who created peace in me, who supported me to create my couple. Yes, and many things, and my study, yes, many things as a friend. And nowadays, many friends I have are now Christians.
Is there anything else that you would like to add to what you've shared with us today? Anything else that you would like our listeners to hear from you?
Yeah, one thing is, if you will be available, or you will get any chance, come to visit our country. You will see many things. What I said to you, or what I gave to you, is not all the baggage. If you will visit our country, you will have big informations. And other thing is, thank you also to think about our country, to write about genocide in our country, about remembrance. But in our country, we use the name commemoration. I think you will talk about also small things about the commemoration, because yeah, commemoration and remembrance, yes, sometimes it's the same, but not the same, because commemoration is like to call to remember, or to call to remembrance. Sometimes it's like commemoration in our country is the action work by togetherness with joining, is like meeting, or like many people who now meet together and then to remember. Then I say, can testify to others, and the other persons testify. And then through those testimonies, we get new life. We get, and then we comfort others. When I heard your testimony, then I understand who you are. Then I also can also get new behavior to support you in our relationship. That is the reason why we use the word commemoration. And commemoration also, we use the commemoration because sometimes also we use the memorial sites to understand, in order to commemorate, to remember. Then thank you for to talk about also forgiveness. Forgiveness is a key element which gives us inner peace. Not inner peace also, but a calling to others to join you and to feel free, come to me and sharing with me and with others.
Thank you very much for your time. This was really, we really needed to hear this. It was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us and our audience.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Ines, and thank you, Laura. Thank you, Dora. See you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Remembering Rwanda. We spoke with Kaneza Theogene, a pastor and survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. We're so grateful that Kaneza was here with us to share his personal story and experiences. We hope you'll join us next week, where we'll air an interview with the Senegalese writer Boubacar Boris Diop, well known for his novel called Murambi, The Book of Bones. The novel focuses on a massacre which took place during the Rwandan genocide against the Tutsis.
Thank you for listening and participating in our collective memory. For further reading, please check out the links provided in the episode description. We really appreciate your curiosity. If you liked our podcast, please share it with other curious people around you.